Sal bani Israel kam atainahum min ayatin bayyinah. Ask the children of Israel how many clear signs we gave to them. They saw miracles after miracles, miracle after miracle. وَمَنْ يُبَدِّلْ نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْهُ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. And whosoever changes the blessings of Allah after they have come to him, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very severe in punishment also. In one ayah actually is the reference to the first part of this surah. What had they been doing with the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? زُيِّنَ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا. This life of this world has been made very attractive and beautiful for the kuffar. They love it. This life and its shine, its grandeur, it attracts them. زُيِّنَ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا وَيَسْخَرُونَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. And they mock at the Muslims, at the Mu'mins. Look to these people. They think, or he thinks, there will be another world, and he will have all the bounty of Allah in that world. He is living in the hope of the other world. While we have all the amenities, all the luxuries, we are enjoying everything here in this world. So they mock at them. يَسْخَرُونَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا فَوْقَهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. And those who have taqwa, they will be above them on the day of judgment. وَاللَّهُ يَرْزُقُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. And Allah will give to whomsoever He will please, without reckoning, without any limits. كَانَ النَّاسُ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً. Now it's a very important issue. Why there are different religions, different communities? What's the philosophy behind it? This ayah is also one of the most important ayat of this surah, and I have given it the name Ayatul Ikhtilaf. How differences in religion appeared. So it's the philosophy of history of Quran. كَانَ النَّاسُ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً. All the people to begin with were one community. All progeny of Adam, they were all one community. They were on Tawheed, on Islam. They were not in darkness. They were in the light of Tawheed. Because the first man was also the first Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first prophet. فَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ النَّبِيِّينَ. Now after that what happened? There were differences among the people. After Adam alayhi salatu wassalam, people divided. فَبَعَثَ اللَّهُ النَّبِيِّينَ مُبَشِّرِينَ وَمُنذِرِينَ. So after that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised and sent the prophets who were Mubashireen and Munzireen both. They were Mubashireen, givers of the glad tidings, bringing the glad tidings to those who took to the right path. Were Munzireen, and warning those who took to the wrong path. وَأَنزَلَ مَعَهُمُ الْكِتَابَ بِالْحَقِّ. And He sent down with them the book with the truth. لِيَحْكُمَ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ فِي مَا اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ. To judge between the people in all matters in which they had differed. وَمَا اخْتَلَفَ فِيهِ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ أُوتُوهُ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْهُمُ الْبَيِّنَاتُ بَغْيًا بَيْنَهُمْ. And people who differed among themselves didn't differ except after the clear signs had come to them. They had the clear knowledge, they had the clear signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That was not by mistake. The real cause was بَغْيًا بَيْنَهُمْ, seeking domination over each other. This domination, Adler's view of psychology, the urge to dominate, this is the real cause of differences which appear in religion. فَهَدَى اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لِمَا اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ مِنَ الْحَقِّ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided to those who believed to the right path in all the matters in which there was differences. بِإِذْنِهِ, with His permission. وَاللَّهُ يَهْدِي مَن يَشَاءُ إِلَىٰ صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. And it is for Allah that He guides to whomsoever He pleases towards the right path. أَمْ حَسِبْتُمْ أَن تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ. Now again you'll find the description and the discussion about going to war for the cause of Allah. أَمْ حَسِبْتُمْ أَن تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ. Did you think that you will enter Jannah, paradise? وَلَمَّا يَأْتِكُمْ مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. Although those trials and tests and tribulations have not happened up till now, which came to those people who were before you. Massathumul ba'sa, affliction and distress touched them. وَزُلْزِلُوا, and they were shaken. حَتَّى يَقُولَ الرَّسُولُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ, so that the Prophet of the time and his companions who were with him, people who believed, they cried out, حَتَّى يَقُولَ الرَّسُولُ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مَعَهُ مَتَىٰ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ, when the help of Allah will come. أَلَا إِنَّ نَصْرَ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ. Then the glad tidings was given to them that the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not far away, it's nigh, it's very near. So don't shirk and don't avoid going to war for the cause of Allah. يَسَأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ, now that infaq, and they are asking you, O Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what should we spend and where should we spend? قُلْ مَا أَنْفَقْتُم مِّن خَيْرٍ, tell them, whatever you spend from your money, your wealth, فَلِلْوَالِدَيْنِ, so first they should be spent on your parents, وَالْأَقْرَبِينَ, then your relatives, kith and kin, وَالْيَتَامَى, the orphans, وَالْمَسَاكِينَ, and the poor and the needy, وَابْنِ السَّبِيلِ, and the travelers. وَمَا تَفْعَلُوا مِنْ خَيْرٍ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ بِهِ عَلِيمٌ. Whatever good deed you will do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be knowing it. It will be in the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْقِتَالُ وَهُوَ كُرْهٌ لَكُمْ. Now going to war has been made mandatory and obligatory upon you. Kutiba. Just as kutiba alaykum as-siyam, fasting has been made mandatory on you. Now it is that stage of the revolutionary struggle of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when this war has been made mandatory. Kutiba alaykum al-qital. It has been prescribed, it has been made imperative upon you to go to war. وَهُوَ كُرْهٌ لَكُمْ, and it is abhorrent to you. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. That is just possible, that you are abhorring something, you don't like something, and it is really good for you. وَعَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّوا شَيْئًا. On the contrary, this is also possible, that you like something, you love something. وَهُوَ شَرٌ لَكُمْ. Although in reality it's not good for you, it's injurious for you. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah knows and you don't know. يَسَأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الشَّهْرِ الْحَرَامِ قِتَالٍ فِيهِ. They are asking you also about the sacred month, about going to war during that month. قُلْ قِتَالٌ فِيهِ كَبِيرٌ. Tell them, going to war in a sacred month is a grievous sin. But وَصَدٌّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, but preventing people from the cause of Allah, from the way of Allah, وَكُفْرٍ بِهِ, and making kufr and disbelieving Him, وَالْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ, and preventing people from going and visiting and pilgrimage to the Masjid al-Haram, وَإِخْرَاجُ أَهْلِهِ مِنْهُ, and expelling the people of Makkah from it, أَكْبَرُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. That is the bigger sin in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالْفِتْنَةُ أَكْبَرُ مِنَ الْقَتْلِ. The same wordings. وَالْفِتْنَةُ أَشَدُّ مِنَ الْقَتْلِ, we read before. وَالْفِتْنَةُ أَكْبَرُ مِنَ الْقَتْلِ. Fitna, persecution, and the unjust social order. If the social system is not under divine rule, that is much worse than killing. وَلَا يَزَالُونَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ فِيهِ. And your enemies, these kuffar, will continue fighting against you during this sacred month, hatta yaruddukum, till they take you back from your deen, in istata'u, if they can. وَمَنْ يَرْتَدِدْ مِنْكُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِ. And listen, whosoever amongst you goes back from his deen, if under this pressure of the enemies of Islam, he gives up Islam and goes back to that deen of their forefathers, وَمَنْ يَرْتَدِدْ مِنْكُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِ فَيَمُتْ, and if he dies in that condition, وَهُوَ كَافِرٌ, فَأُولَٰئِكَ حَبِطَتْ أَعْمَالُهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Such are the people whose all deeds will go in vain, will be destroyed in this world as well as in the akhirah, in the hereafter. أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. And they are the people of fire, and they will remain in that forever, forever. And now again the contrast. If there is a mention of such people, we don't have any example really that somebody went back from Islam to kufr. But theoretically, because it could be possible, it was discussed here. And on the contrary, the simultaneous contrast, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ هَاجَرُوا وَجَاهَدُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. On the other hand, those people who believed, who had the real faith, and then they made the hijrah, they migrated at the orders of the Prophet ﷺ from Makkah to Medina. وَجَاهَدُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Then they fought for the cause of Allah. They made jihad for the cause of Allah. أُولَٰئِكَ يَرْجُونَ رَحْمَةَ اللَّهِ. They are the people who are hoping, they are the candidates for the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are hoping the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahu ghafurur rahim. And verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forgiving and merciful. يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ. They are asking you, O Prophet, now again social problems. They are asking you about wine and gambling. قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ. Tell them, in both of them there is a grievous sin. وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. But there are some benefits also for the people. وَإِثْمُهُمَا أَكْبَرُ مِنْ نَفْعِهِمَا. But the sin of both of these is greater than the benefits in both of these. That's all. Here, only this much. This was the first instruction about these two things. The final instructions, they will come in Surah Al-Ma'idah. وَيَسَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ. And they are asking you, what should they spend? قُلِ الْعَفْوَ. Tell them, whatever is surplus, whatever with you is more than your needs, give it away. Give it for the cause of Allah. كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. In this way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes His signs, His teachings clear so that you ponder over them. فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. In this world also, or in the hereafter also. وَيَسَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْيَتَامَى. And they are asking you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, about the orphans. قُلْ إِصْلَاحٌ لَهُمْ خَيْرٌ. Tell to work honestly in their property to benefit them is good. وَإِن تُخَالِطُوهُمْ فَإِخْوَانُكُمْ. And if you intermix your properties and business with theirs, they are your brothers. وَإِن تُخَالِطُوهُمْ فَإِخْوَانُكُمْ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ الْمُفْسِدَ مِنَ الْمُصْلِحِ. And Allah very well knows the person who is making mischief monger, from that person who actually wants to have good deal about the orphans. وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَعَانَتَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ رَحِيمٌ. He would have been hard upon you if Allah willed so. Surely Allah is mighty and wise. From here now for 4 continuous sections, questions and problems regarding women are being discussed. The first instruction regarding this, لَا تَنْكِحُ الْمُشْرِكَاتِ حَتَّى يُؤْمِنَّ. Don't marry mushrik women, idolaters, those non-believers who are not from even the people of the book. They will all be included in it. Don't marry mushrik women hatta yumin, till such time that they embrace Islam, they come to believe. Wal amatun mu'minatun. And definitely, even a slave girl, if she is a mu'min, if she is a Muslim, khairun min mushrikatin, is better than a mushrik free woman. Walau ajabatkum, although she might appear to you to be much liked. Wala tunkihul mushrikina hatta yu'minu. And don't give away your women in marriage to any mushrik man till such time that he embraces Islam, he becomes a believer. Wala abdun mu'minun khairun min mushrikin. Surely a slave, if he is a Muslim, if he is a mu'min, is better than a free man if he is a mushrik, a kafir. Walau ajabakum, although he may appear to you to be very good. Ulaika yad'una ila an-nar. They are calling towards fire, towards hell. Mushrik women, mushrik men, they will be calling you, they will be driving you towards hell. Wallahu yad'u ila al-jannah. And Allah is calling you towards paradise, towards heaven. Wal maghfirati bi'iznihi, and forgiveness, His forgiveness with His permission. وَيُبَيِّنُ آيَاتِهِ لِلنَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ. And He is making His commandments, his ayat, his signs, very plain, very clear, so that people get reminded. They have the admonition. Instruction number 2, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْمَحِيضِ, and they're asking you about the menstruation. قُلْ هُوَ أَذًى, tell them it's a discomfort. فَاعْتَزِلُوا النِّسَاءَ فِي الْمَحِيضِ, so keep aloof from the women during their periods. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوهُنَّ حَتَّى يَطْهُرْنَ, and don't go near them till they are clean. فَإِذَا تَطَهَّرْنَ, when they are fully clean, فَأْتُوهُنَّ مِنْ حَيْثُ أَمَرَكُمُ اللَّهُ, then you can go to them in the manner in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained for you. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ التَّوَّابِينَ وَيُحِبُّ الْمُتَطَهِّرِينَ, verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves those who repent of their mistakes, and He loves those who keep themselves clean and pure. نِسَاؤُكُمْ حَرْثٌ لَكُمْ, your women are like a tillage for you. فَأْتُوا حَرْثَكُمْ أَنَّىٰ شِئْتُمْ, you can come to your tillage from wherever you like. وَقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُمْ, and forward good deeds for your own selves. This can have two meanings, because due to this sexual intercourse with women, with wives, one gets offspring. So his progeny is continued. So get for yourself, try to preserve your species through this act that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed for you. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ, and have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Regard Him as He should have regarded. وَعْلَمُوا أَنَّكُمْ مُلَاقُوهُ, and keep it in mind every moment that you will have to meet Him. You will be presented before Him one day. وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, give the glad tidings to the people who really believe. وَلَا تَجْعَلُوا اللَّهَ عُرْضَةً لِأَيْمَانِكُمْ أَن تَبَرُّوا وَتَتَّقُوا وَتُصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ النَّاسِ, and don't use the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your oaths as an impediment to your being pious and God-fearing, and to your promoting peace among mankind. You take oath on Allah's name, Wallah, and on what? I will not do this good deed again. For the acts of charity, for acts of piety, for acts of making peace among people. You know, somebody sometimes gets angry. I am not going to again indulge in your affairs at all. Although he was trying to make peace between two brothers. Wallahi, I swear by God, I will not again indulge in your affairs. Why? You have to go on trying to make peace between the two quarreling brothers. So don't use the name of Allah for such oaths. لا يؤاخذكم الله باللغو في أيمانكم. Allah will not take you to task about your oaths which you take without any intentions. وَلَكِنْ يُؤَاخِذُكُمْ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ قُلُوبُكُمْ. But He will bring you to task for those oaths which were earned by your hearts with intentions. وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ حَلِيمٌ, and Allah is forgiving and forbearing. In this connection, the final orders will come in Surah Al-Ma'idah, that if somebody has taken an oath and now he wants to go contravene it, then he has to give the redemption, the kafara, the fidya, that will be described in Surah Al-Ma'idah. As I told you, the blueprint of the Sharia is being prepared in this surah, but in most of the matters, the final injunctions of the Sharia that will appear in Surah Al-Ma'idah. لِلَّذِينَ يُولُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ تَرَبُّصُ أَرْبَعَةِ أَشْهُرٍ. Those of you who swear and take an oath of not having any intercourse with their wives may wait for 4 months. Somebody has taken an oath, I am not going to go near you, he says to his wife. And he takes the oath, swears by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this condition may continue for 4 months, not more. After 4 months, one has to take a decision. Either divorce her and make her way free, or who should return and he should start having the sexual intercourse with the wife. This separation can be only for 4 months. لِلَّذِينَ يُولُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ تَرَبُّصُ أَرْبَعَةِ أَشْهُرٍ فَإِنْ فَاءُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. If they go back, if they break their oath, it's better. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is also forgiving and merciful. وَإِنْ عَزَمُوا الطَّلَاقَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. And if they have decided for divorce, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all hearing, all knowing. Now the question of talaq is being discussed in a very lengthy form. وَالْمُطَلَقَّاتُ يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ ثَلَاثَةَ قُرُوءٍ. And those women who have been divorced should withhold for 3 periods of menstruation. وَلَا يَحِلُّ لَهُنَّ أَن يَكْتُمْنَ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ فِي أَرْحَامِهِنَّ. And it is not halal for them, it is not permissible for them that they should hide what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in their wombs. If there is some pregnancy, they must disclose at the time of divorce, so that it is known that this son or daughter belongs to her husband who has divorced her. So this should be clear absolutely. In kunna yu'minna billahi wal yawmil akhir. If they really believe in Allah and the last day, if they have real belief in Allah and the last day, then they shouldn't hide or conceal whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created in their wombs. وَبَعُولَتُهُنَّ أَحَقُّ بِرَدِّهِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ إِنْ أَرَادُوا إِصْلَاحًا. And their husbands have more right and authority to take them back during this period if they want to make things clear and better, if they want reconciliation. During this period, which is called iddah, one person has given one divorce to his wife. Now that wife has to wait for 3 months, 3 periods. During this time, if the husband has decided to take her back, he can take her back. The wife cannot refuse. He has the authority. أَحَقُّ بِرَدِّهِنَّ. He is more powerful. He has the right to take her back. فِي ذَلِكَ. During this period of their iddah. In aradu islaha, if they really desire reconciliation. وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Now these words have been translated in 2 ways. Lahunna, for them, that is the women. The women also are rights, just as there are rights over them of the men. You know, this is a very tricky question. In this marriage, what are the rights of a woman, wife? What are the rights of husband, the man? Are they absolutely equal? This is the philosophy of the modern civilization. They are all absolutely equal. If the husband can divorce, wife can also divorce. Equal authority of divorcing has been given in this present civilization to men and women. In Islam, it's not so. There's a difference. So actually, this ayah has been translated, although by many, that the rights of women are absolutely equal to the rights of men. وَلَهُنَّ, and for them are the rights, مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ, absolutely like those which are on them for the husbands. The women have, the wives have right over the husband, just like those rights which the husbands have over the wives. This is one way of translating these words. وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. The other is, for the women there are rights which are proportionate to the responsibilities put on them. And this is more scientific, and this is more rationally, logically connected, compatible with the whole family system of Islam. Islam puts certain responsibilities upon the husband, certain responsibilities upon the wife. Now rights always go parallel to the responsibilities. If the responsibilities are more, rights should be more. If the responsibilities are less, rights should also be less. Hence, actually, what these words mean are, lahunna, they have the rights, mislul ladhi alayhinna, which are proportionate to the duties that have been put on their shoulders. I agree with this second translation. Lahunna mislul ladhi alayhinna bil ma'roof wa lirrijali alayhinna darajah. But even if you take the first translation, again Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear, and for men over the women there is a degree of authority. وَلِلْرِجَالِ عَلَيْهِنَّ دَرَجَةٌ. There is one daraja, one degree that the men have over women. Wallahu Azizul Hakim. This thing will be discussed now in detail in Surah An-Nisa. Here, as I told you, the basic directive principles, basic philosophical ideas, they are being given. And the preliminary instructions are being given. But this thing you will develop into a full legal system in Surah An-Nisa and then finally in Surah Al-Ma'idah. At-talaqu marratan. Divorce can be twice. فَإِمْسَاكُمْ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ تَصْرِيحٌ بِإِحْسَانٍ. After that, one has to decide whether to retain the wife with honor or to release her with kindness. After two, if one gives third also, then he cannot take back. That is talaq-e-mughallas. But up till that time that there are only two divorces, so there is a choice that he can retain the wife. If during the period of iddah, there is no need of another fresh nikah. But if the period of iddah has been completed, now they will have to have a fresh nikah. But they can have it if the divorces are only two up till now. If it is the third one, they cannot marry again. It will come later on, inshallah. At-talaqu marratan fa imsakum bi ma'rufin wa tasrihum bi ihsan. Divorce is twice. After that, either a retention with honor or a release with honor. وَلَا لِيَحِلُّ لَكُمْ أَن تَأْخُذُوا مِمَّا آتَيْتُمُوهُنَّ شَيْئًا. And it is not permissible for you that you take back from them what you have given them. What mahr and what dowry has been given, you cannot take on divorce. You cannot get it back. إِلَّا أَن يَخَافَ أَن لَا يُقِيمَ حُدُودَ اللَّهِ. Except if they think and if they fear that they cannot maintain the limits of the law of the Sharia. فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ أَن لَا يُقِيمَ حُدُودَ اللَّهِ. If they fear they cannot maintain the limits of the law of Allah. فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِمَا. There will be no sin on both of them. فِي مَفْتَدَتْ بِهِ. Wherewith she gets her freedom. If she says, I am ready to forego half of my mahr, you release me. This is called khula. The woman, the wife can get khula. And in khula, she might have to forego half of the mahr. Maybe the husband says no. She might have to forego full her mahr. But in that case, the husband, he doesn't want to give divorce. It's the wife who is demanding divorce. In that case, the husband has the authority to demand that my mahr that I paid to you should be returned either in toto or in half. Tilka hududullahi fala ta'taduha. These are the limits prescribed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't transgress them. Here just remember, we found the words, Tilka hududullahi fala taqrabuha. The ayat of the 23rd section regarding song. Tilka hududullahi fala taqrabuha. I told at that time that at certain places the wordings are Tilka hududullahi fala ta'taduha. These are the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed by Him. So don't transgress them. وَمَنْ يَتَعَدَّ حُدُودَ اللَّهِ. And whosoever transgresses the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. So verily they are the evildoers. فَإِن طَلَّقَهَا فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ مِن بَعْدُ حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ. And now if he divorces her for the third time, at-talaqu marratan, that was the previous ayah. Now if for the third time he has also divorced, فَإِن طَلَّقَهَا فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ. Now she will not be permissible in marriage. She will not be lawful for him. فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ مِن بَعْدُ. After this, حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ. Till such time that she marries another husband. فَإِن طَلَّقَهَا. And now if the other husband, now if he also gives divorce, فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِمَا. Now there will be no sin if they compromise again. يَتَرَاجَعَا. If those two again get into the marriage contract. إِن ظَنَّا أَن يُقِيمَا حُدُودَ اللَّهِ. If they think that now they can maintain the limits of the law of the Sharia. وَتِلْكَ حُدُودُ اللَّهِ يُبَيِّنُهَا لِقَوْمٍ يَعْلَمُونَ. And these are the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is making them very clear for those people who know. وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ سَرِّحُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. And if you have divorces your women, your wives, and they have completed the period of iddah, 3 periods, 3 menstrual periods, فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ. Now is the time to decide. If it is not the third divorce, it is the first or the second divorce. It is the time finally to decide. فَأَمْسِكُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. Either retain them in a noble way, أَوْ سَرِّحُوهُنَّ بِمَعْرُوفٍ. Or let them go and let them release with kindness. وَلَا تُمْسِكُوهُنَّ ضِرَارًا لِتَعْتَدُوا. And don't retain them in order to do harm to them. If you are angry, well, I don't let her go. I'll punish. Because if she goes away, then you can't punish her anymore. If you want to retain her only to do harm to her, وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ فَقَدْ ظَلَمَ نَفْسَهُ. Whosoever does this, he has done wrong to himself, because Allah Ta'ala will punish him then. وَلَا تَتَّخِذُوا آيَاتِ اللَّهِ هُزُوًا. And don't make Allah's revelations a mockery. Don't play with the laws of the Sharia, because I have the authority to take her back, so I have taken back legally. Yes, legally you have done good, but if your intentions are to do harm to her, then actually you will be rewarded and you will be punished on the Day of Judgment. وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ. Remember Allah's blessing over you. وَمَا أَنزَلَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِنَ الْكِتَابِ. And remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down to you the book, وَالْحِكْمَةِ, and the wisdom, يَعِذُكُمْ بِهِ. And He is admonishing you with this. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ عَلِيمٌ. And have regard for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fear Him, and keep it in mind that He knows everything. وَإِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَبَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ. And when you have divorced your women and they have reached their period of iddah, فَلَا تَعْذُلُوهُنَّ أَن يَنْكِحْنَ أَزْوَاجَهُنَّ. So don't stop them from marrying their own husbands. Now, for example, if somebody has divorced your daughter, and now, because it is the only first or the second divorce, and now the husband wants to take her back, you said no. The Muslims have been not permitted to do it. You don't come in the way. If the husband wants to take her back, if the wife is also ready to go back to that husband, then don't come in their way. Because out of your pride and haughtiness, why did he divorce? This is not permissible. فَلَا تَعْذُلُوهُنَّ أَن يَنْكِحْنَ أَزْوَاجَهُنَّ إِذَا تَرَاضَوْا بَيْنَهُمْ. If they can agree among themselves, if they are ready to remarry. I told you, after the completion of the iddah, there should be a fresh marriage. Within the period of iddah, the husband can take without a fresh marriage. But after that period has been completed, now there has to be a fresh marriage. But now if the parents or the brothers or the relatives of the woman, they come in the way, we won't allow this marriage, this is wrong. ذَلِكَ يُوعَظُ بِهِ مَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. These advices are being given to those of you who really believe in Allah and the last day. Because if you don't believe, then all these advices are useless. You won't pay heed to them. ذَلِكَ يُوعَظُ بِهِ مَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. Only those of you will be able to avail of all these advices who have real faith in Allah and the last day. ذَلِكُمْ أَزْكَى لَكُمْ وَأَطْهَرُ. This is more decent for you and more pure for you. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah knows and you don't know. وَالْوَالِدَاتُ يُرْضِعْنَ أَوْلَادَهُنَّ حَوْلَيْنِ كَامِلَيْنِ. And mothers should suckle their offsprings for 2 complete years. لِمَنْ أَرَادَ أَنْ يُتِمَّ الرَّضَاعَةَ. For whom wants to complete that suckling. وَعَلَى الْمَوْلُودِ لَهُ. And on the father is the responsibility, رِزْقُهُنَّ وَكِسْوَتُهُنَّ, to provide for their feeding and their clothing, bil-ma'roof, in the proper way. If you have divorced the wife, but there is a child who is suckling, you can say to your divorced wife, you have to keep this child with you and suckle your milk, and I will provide your feeding and your clothing. The father is responsible. لا تكلف نفس إلا وسعها. No one is burdened save according to his capacity. لا تضار والدة بولدها. No mother should be harmed due to her offspring. ولا مولود له بولده. In the same way, no father should be harmed due to his offspring. وعلى الوارث مثله. And the responsibility of a person will be transmitted to his heir also. فإن أرادا فصالا. If the parents, they decide that the weaning of the child, that mother will not suckle him or her. وَإِنْ أَرَادَا فِصَالًا عَنْ تَرَاضٍ مِّنْهُمَا وَتَشَاوُرٍ. By mutual consultation they decide. فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْهِمَا. Then also there is no sin on both of them. وَإِنْ أَرَدْتُمْ أَن تَسْتَرْضِعُوا. If you want to have foster suckling, awladakum, for your sons and daughters. فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذَا سَلَّمْتُمْ مَا آتَيْتُمْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. There is no sin on you, you can do it. It is also permissible to have foster settling from some other woman. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. And have regard of Allah, fear Allah, and keep it in mind that whatever you are doing, Allah is seeing it. وَالَّذِينَ يُتَوَفَّوْنَ مِنْكُمْ وَيَذَرُونَ أَزْوَاجًا يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ أَرْبَعَةَ أَشْهُرٍ وَعَشْرًا. Now this was the rules regarding the wives who were divorced. Now about the widowed women, what should happen to them? وَالَّذِينَ يُتَوَفَّوْنَ مِنْكُمْ. And those of you who die, وَيَذَرُونَ أَزْوَاجًا. And they have left behind them wives. يَتَرَبَّصْنَ بِأَنفُسِهِنَّ أَرْبَعَةَ أَشْهُرٍ وَعَشْرًا. Those widowed wives should withhold themselves for 4 months and 10 days. فَإِذَا بَلَغْنَ أَجَلَهُنَّ. And when they have completed this period, فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي مَا فَعَلْنَ فِي أَنفُسِهِنَّ. Then now it is no responsibility of yours about what they do about their own selves. بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. But it should be in a reasonable way. Known methods of this society. وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرٌ. And whatsoever you are doing, Allah knows them. وَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي مَا عَرَّضْتُمْ بِهِ مِنْ خِدْمَةِ النِّسَاءِ. And there is no blame on you in that you speak indirectly of your proposal of marriage to the widows. أَوْ أَقْنَنْتُمْ فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ. Or you conceal it in your hearts. عَلَمَ اللَّهُ أَنَّكُمْ سَتَذْكُرُونَهُنَّ. Allah Ta'ala knows. Their idea will come to your mind. Such woman has been widowed, or such and such woman has been divorced. Now, if you like her, you can have some idea in your mind that I want to marry her now. وَلَكِنْ لَا تُوَاعِدُوهُنَّ سِرًّا. But don't make any agreement, any hidden, any secret agreement of marriage till that time that the iddah is completed. Within this period, you can have some ideas, and you can mention it also in a beautiful way, in an indirect way. But there can be not a full agreement of marriage before the ending of that period. وَلَكِنْ لَا تُوَاعِدُوهُنَّ سِرًّا إِلَّا أَن تَقُولُوا قَوْلًا مَعْرُوفًا. You can say something which is proper, which can only hint that I intend to marry you. وَلَا تَعْزِمُوا عُقْدَةَ النِّكَاحِ. Don't resolve the marriage tie حَتَّى يَبْلُغَ الْكِتَابُ وَأَجَلَّهُ. Before that time that the period is completed, the law is completed. وَعَلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ. And know yourself. You should know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is in your hearts. فَاحْذَرُوهُ. So be fearing Him. You should always be mindful that Allah knows even those things which are in my heart. He knows my intentions also. وَعَلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ حَلِيمٌ. And keep it in mind that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forgiving and forbearing. لَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ إِن طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ مَا لَمْ تَمَسُّوهُنَّ وَتَفْرِضُوا لَهُنَّ فَرِيضَةً. There is no blame on you if you divorce your wives whom you have not as yet touched, or you have not fixed for them any bridal money. Marriage has been consummated, but neither they have met together. The husband has not touched the wife up till now. No marriage money, no bridal money has been fixed, no meher has been decided. And the person, the husband, is divorcing the wife. It can be done. وَمَتِّعُوهُنَّ. But give something in gift to them when you are divorcing. Although the meher was not settled, the bridal money was not settled, not decided, but if you have divorced her, give something. عَلَى الْمُوسِعِ قَدَرُهُ وَعَلَى الْمُقْتِرِ قَدَرُهُ. On the rich is according to his capacity, on the poor person according to his capacity. They should pay something and give some gifts. مَتَاعًا بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. And this should be a fair provision. حَقًّا عَلَى الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And this is an obligation on the good doers. وَإِن طَلَّقْتُمُوهُنَّ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَن تَمَسُّوهُنَّ وَقَدْ فَرَضْتُمْ لَهُنَّ فَرِيضَةً. Now this is another situation. If you want to divorce a wife whom you have not touched up till now, but the bridal money had been settled, now what to do? فَنِصْفُ مَا فَرَضْتُمْ. So now you will have to pay half of what you had decided and settled. إِلَّا يَعْفُونَ. Except if they give you something, if they forego something, if they say no, أو يعفو الذي بيده عقدة النكاح, or that person foregoes in whose hands is the tie of the marriage. What does it mean? The husband. The tie of the marriage is in the hand of the husband. He can give divorce whenever he likes. The woman, the wife, cannot give divorce whenever she likes. So the tie, the knot of nikah is in the hand of the husband. So actually it is half that has to be given. But even the wife can say, I don't want to take this half even. Husband can say, no, I want to give full. One tafu, if you forgo, that is, you don't give half but give full. Aqrabu lit-taqwa. This is nearer to taqwa. وَلَا تَنْسَبُوا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ. Do not ignore the superiority between you. You are superior. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the upper hand. So you should be generous. And you should give her not half but the full dowry. Inna Allah bima ta'amaluna basir. Whatever you are doing, Allah ta'ala is seeing it. Hafizu ala salawati wa salatul wusta. Guard all of your prayers, and especially the midst prayer. And there is nearly consensus among the mufassirin that this is Salatul Asr. وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. And keep standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a very humble way, with humility. فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ. And if you are in fear, for example, if you are going somewhere and you are fearing that enemy is pursuing you and you want to be safe, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا وَرُكْبَانًا. Then you can offer your prayers even walking or riding. If there is no time that you can get down and then you can say the prayer in the usual manner, then when you are walking you can say your prayer. If you are riding over camels or horses, you can say your prayers on that. If there is danger, if there is khawf, this is called Salatul Khawf. فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا وَرُكْبَانًا فَإِذَا أَمِنْتُمْ فَاذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَمَا عَلَّمَكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. When you are in peace and security, now you remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He has taught you. مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ, which you didn't know before. Now, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not given the details of the salah, the prayer in the Quran. So this teaching of salah that came to us through the practice of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was taught by Jibreel alayhi salatu wa salam. So actually this method of salah has been taught to us through firstly Jibreel and then Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That is why the Prophet has said, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli. You should pray just as you see me praying. So we have to copy. There can be differences regarding the traditions. But you know, one thing should be agreed upon by each Muslim if he is a real mu'min. We have to pray just as the Prophet ﷺ used to pray. But now regarding the Sunnah, whether this is proved or not, whether this hadith is more strong and this hadith is less strong, that is actually for the jurists and the fuqaha and the people who are knowledgeable about hadith and Sunnah. They will decide. But the argument would come from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ.